It's, I'm not gonna lie, it's been rough. I don't even want to think about it anymore, let alone describe that. Oh, that evil. Just what I saw, what I read. I wished someone would have warned me. That I wish someone would have slapped me awake, made me come to my senses, but oh my god, I was an idiot. I am an idiot. I read it. Yeah. I'm so sorry.
I think this book just killed the contemporary genre for me. Behold, the one book that kept me from reading for a whole month, that kept me from making videos, because it absolutely sucked the creative drive out of me, pulled it straight into the monotone, colorless void that this book is. Something that is just so loud yet so empty at the same time. You betcha, it's the infamous sequel to the infamous book Again But Better, but now it's better together. It did not get better. Instead of lying writer wannabe Shane, no, this book stars a selfish, rage depression ink stick named Siri, and the most annoying ball of red-headed fluff besides myself named Jamie. I was so completely behind on this book. People had already read, reviewed, and raged about it. And I completely forgot it existed. Until I got like a nice little innocent YouTube comment asking me to review it. And then I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that was coming out. But you did this to me. If you need to know anything about Again But Better real quick and you don't want to watch the 30-minute review that I posted about it on my channel, you just need to know it has some of the cringiest dialogue. It was so obviously written by a booktuber. Its characters were toddlers shoved into 20-year-old bodies. The funniest running joke was apparently our main character Shane could not set a bottle of water down quietly, or that whenever she stood up, a chair would always fall behind her. It has some weird, out-of-place metaphors and descriptions.
Shane's freaking out one moment. She says that she feels like her stomach's falling out of her butt. Shane, how big is your butthole? A healthy stomach's the size of your fist.
And as a whole, the book was the equivalent of that SpongeBob episode where Squidward is leading the band and he says, well, we're not that good, but maybe if we're just really, really loud, people will be impressed, correct?
Correct!
I wanted to DNF that book at page 16, because just by the little snippets that I was dealt with, I knew it was going to be bad. This book is worse. Much, much worse. And it manages to be worse in all the wrong ways. So much worse because in Again But Better, and yes, I have to keep comparing these two because they're connected. The stupidity of these books has its own universe. At least in Again But Better, that was something I could really react to. It had crazy, oddball, zany attempts at humor. None of it landed, but at least it was trying. It was a little over the top. The effort of trying to make me laugh kept me entertained. The same way you're kind of entertained but embarrassed watching that creepy uncle of yours come to a wedding. Like, you like watching him, but you don't want to be close to him, but you don't want to let him out of your sight. Meanwhile, in Better Together, the only color and personality throughout this whole book is shown simply in the cover. By the way, I'm getting really tired of these really simplistic, paper-like covers in contemporaries. Do you remember like in kindergarten when you would have to like cut out paper figures of a nurse or a police officer? That's what these covers look like to me. I have never read a book that manages to stretch out nothing, just pure nothingness, into 400 pages. So many reviews I read on Goodreads said this book needed to be run through an editor again, and it is so true. A short summary of the book real quick, even though you have definitely seen this plot before. Our two main characters, Jamie and Siri, are sisters. Living evidence that crazy does run in the family. But the twist in this book is, because they were separated at a very young age by their awful, moronic, living filth parent, the same awful, moronic, living filth mother convinces the younger sister, Siri, the kid that she has custody of, for her own daughter's well-being. She convinces this little 4-year-old that her big sister Jamie, the one that the dad took away, yeah, she never existed. Oh, you have these pesky memories about her? No, Jamie's just your imaginary friend. What kind of mom erases one of her own daughters from the mind of her other daughter, taking it up a notch by semi-traumatizing that daughter to the point that she requires therapy to get over no longer having this imaginary friend Jamie. And you know it's really awful when I think this horrible, traumatic backstory is the most interesting part of the book. Too bad the evil mom, who I kind of consider to be the villain of this book, is hardly in it. Oh, and also that really interesting, backstory. Oh, my dear sister, I thought you were just a figment of my imagination. Yeah, that's just like handed to us with some little flippant dialogue. So not really pulling those emotional strings, are we? I mean, this trauma is the core, the essence of Siri, and it's barely given attention because we're so busy talking about how our girl Siri, she's not like other girls because she loves listening to heavy metal music. I listened to Skillet before it was cool. These girls, Siri and Jamie together, they were so irritating and just so confusing as characters, even the book itself. Because we have two point of views, Siri and Jamie's. And it's from first person point of view, so in order to differentiate at the start of each chapter, like, who are we right now? Siri or Jamie? At the start of each chapter, the current point of view's name, Jamie's, it'll be at the top of the chapter. But these girls had no personalities, or were at least unable to be differentiated between each other, that sometimes the book would just have completely the wrong character's name at the top of the chapter. We'll come across a chapter, I think it was like chapter 58, maybe I'm wrong, and it'll say, oh, this is Jamie's point of view right at the top, and no, it's actually Siri that we're reading from. I thought Jamie was just going through a phase where she was talking about herself in a third person for a while. Yeah, again, it needed to be run through an editor. It just made me more confuzzled, and I just wanted to finish the dang thing. But these sisters, they've been pulled apart from each other for 14 whole years. Finally reunited. And now they want to get the revenge. Revenge on their parents from separating them and semi-deleting one of them from the mind of the other. How are they going to do this? By switching places, of course. Siri's going to be Jamie, Jamie's going to be Siri, like we've never heard of this before. And apparently this plan will work, because these sisters who are 2 years apart in age have completely different body builds and completely different hair colors. Apparently they look so alike. So yeah, they switch places. Some other stuff I'm going to talk about later on happens, and it made me angry. And the story just drags along until we finally get to the parent trap confrontation scene. Actually, between these two characters, Siri and Jamie, Siri's moments drag the most because she was the happiest out of the two, and happiness does not excite me. And she's so ooey gooey in love, it's so sweet, it's sickening. So she's just going through happy, smiling Dateland, meanwhile Jamie on the other side of the continent, in disguise as Siri. She, being in her point of view, actually pained me to read. She made me have to actually down an aspirin every time she opened her mouth. And boy, is there a lot of talking in this book. Because Better Together is mostly dialogue with no substance in all those words, get ready for a lot of immature girl screeching. Because in this Better Together universe, and like with bad voice acting, louder equals emotions. Our main characters and their families are the most annoying, selfish individuals I've literally ever read about. And they're not like the semi-redeemable, unlikable protagonists in other books. There's no shred of a redeeming quality about them. And I know some unlikable protagonists. I'm reading a webtoon right now called The Golden Spoon. That protagonist, I love to hate him. Highly recommend that. No. This book, it just gives bad people more than they deserve. In this world, Siri is a bitter ex-ballerina who can no longer dance because of a brutal injury dealt to her back. How she got the injury? I don't know. It wasn't told in a flashback like it should have, or immediately at the start of the book, so we can literally live through the beginnings of the earth-shattering pain with Siri. Some of that showing and not telling. But no, it's just brought up in passing. I got boo-boo on my back. Character motivation. Just like every semi-emotional part of this book, it's just brought up passingly in dialogue. And because Siri is just the noise equivalent to a diseased vacuum cleaner in my mind, I was tuning her out the whole time, reducing my chances of remembering anything she says. Also, I don't care. I don't like her. Maybe her back pain is her spine, which has obtained sentience, is trying to wiggle out of her body, because even it knows this girl sucks. Again, this book has a major telling and not showing problem, and it's immediately obvious by page 2. The first paragraph of this book is just words. And yeah, it's a book, it has words. But is it really saying anything? Just listen to this. Productivity is an itch, one that most likely stems from Mom and her fervor for the keys to success. She doesn't reference them in our current day-to-day, but she spouted them incessantly through my preteen years. The keys to success include, but are not limited to, goal setting, passion, preparation, discipline, perseverance, and luck. I've taken them all to heart. Preparation is my favorite key. The rest are fine. They're respectable, but preparation soothes my soul. If you don't regularly prepare to utilize your time efficiently, your goals just get further and further away. Again, managed to say so little with so many words. What was actually just said? It's good to plan your day. It's good to plan your day. 6 words. Okay, so after that self-help book spiel, we're shifting into the second paragraph. Spot the issue. I've been preparing for a ballet career my entire life. I'm always en route to the next practice, getting ready for the next performance, training harder, honing my craft. I crave that chassé prep before a leap. I like to be over the floor, not on it. I live for moments of perfect weightlessness, where I'm propelled into flight by nothing but my own strength and will. That was a lot of I, wasn't it? Yes, it's in first person point of view, I know. But in both of those paragraphs, it's just talking instead of acting, telling and not showing. Instead of being tucked into the state of Siri's current life, which is waiting in a doctor's office, waiting to get the final test results from all her checkups with her mom, that half Satan, half water moccasin, all psychopath woman. Instead of all that thinking, why not, instead of being explained to death by Siri's monotone, how about show us Siri refusing to accept the doctor's words when he says that she'll never dance again? What if she sneaks into the ballet studio when it closes? Sneaks in the dead of night and she's struggling to even lace up her slippers. She's too tired already to turn the music on, and as she stands up, wobbling, she forces herself into the simplest ballet stance, thinking that at least I can manage that. But it's just too much. Immediately, agony just pierces through her. She crumples against the bar. She slips, she collapses. Maybe she tries to get up again, but she just can't because she does not have the strength and her body just betrays her. That immediately places us, and it shows us her dedication and her stubbornness regarding ballet, the thing that she loves most in the world. It's her refusal to accept a very painful reality. But instead, no, we have her moaning and groaning to the doctor. Like, no, you're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. You think your medical degree is better than my teenage rage hormones, Mr. Student Debt, huh? But what this does do is introduce Siri to us as a whiny, screaming little siren. But she doesn't compare to her mama, who takes her crying daughter back home. You know, the same daughter who just lost her chance, any hopes at obtaining her dreams. Doesn't comfort her at all, and just says, oh, you'll find something else to do to occupy your time. Pull yourself together. Crying has never amounted to anything worthwhile. By the way, I've emotionally manipulated you your entire childhood. Your memories gone. I made you think your sister never existed. And I fed you nothing but lies about your birth father, who I actively cheated on throughout our relationship. But I made you healthy protein bars, baby, so all good. She didn't say any of that towards the end. Well, this book would have been a lot shorter if it had. Meanwhile, across the country along the glittering coast of California, we have the person I hate most besides myself when I eat both the cartons of green matcha green tea ice cream. Her name's Jamie. She's a comedian. A comedian trying to score it big in showbiz. I hate everything that this woman touches, does, says, and she talks a lot. So for me, who is honestly not that fond of the contemporary genre to begin with, even though I have read some really good books, humor is the most important aspect of a contemporary to me, besides the characters themselves. Especially if one of the characters is an active comedian. Jamie isn't funny. First off, how we meet her is she's asleep and she's reliving this constant nightmare that she has. She's reliving a real gig that she did on a real stage, and she did not do good. She bombed. She couldn't remember what to say. She got nervous. She got heckled from the crowd, and she threw up. Embarrassing. But do you know how much vomit is in this book? Every time Jamie is just a little bit stressed, she vomits. Because apparently vomiting is the only way to express emotion in this book. And it would be so random too. When she reunites with Siri, she throws up into a sink and just continues on like nothing happened. She got into an argument with her best friend Don on the phone. And you know, when tensions got too high, she just bent over and threw up on her shoes. And also, so many chapters in this book ended with someone just screaming. And when you get to the next chapter, because, oh my gosh, what happened? Someone's screaming. Something awesome better be on the other side of this page. No, it was just someone the character recognized walking through a door. It's so unwarranted and it's kind of clickbaity because it just wants you to get interested enough to flip over to the next page. It's kind of cheap. Also, besides Jamie's stand-up routine not being funny, it's also just a really lazy way to describe how she looks. It's worse, honestly, than the YA cliche of the main character looking at herself in a mirror. And just listen to this. I'm going to read her routine. I'm gonna try my darndest to make it funny, but I'm going word for word, baby. Please, I know this next segment will be horribly boring, but don't click off. Don't leave me here in this cold, empty void. It's so lonely. Let me go grab my fake microphone.
And now, after slightly tilting her camera to make it look like she came from another location, it's Jane George Farrell.
Hey, I'm Jamie George Furterov. You've definitely never heard of me. I'm but the humble, semi-only child of a Hollywood producer. Yeah, my dad's a producer. He fancies himself an auteur. For those of you who are unfamiliar, that's film slang for a pretentious white dude. My father, the auteur. I owe him so much, most notably my charming stuck-up Hollywood nature. Thank you, Dad. My dad, he's a youthful, pretentious soul. If I were to guesstimate, I'd say... yeah, he's about 15. He's a pretentious 15-year-old and a 40-year-old body. I'd say I'm like a slightly frumpy 40-year-old in a 12-year-old's body. I was carded trying to see the most recent Titanic re-release in theaters a couple weeks back. That film was PG-13 for boobs. I'm almost 21. I have 2 real physical, grew them myself boobs. But apparently this face screams not yet worthy of seeing Kate Winslet naked. My pretentious dad, of course, has the latest iPhone. Like, what is it, the iPhone 23H or something? It has a face reader. You all probably have it too, you live on Earth. And Dad and I, we share a similar face structure. These knife-edge scary cheekbones, yeah, these are from him. When I have shades on, which is always, I mean, we live in LA, and I hold his phone to my face, it unlocks. Yes, gasp! Exactly the reaction I wanted. The scandal. Fear me, father. We're interchangeable. Prepare to be hot. What does that mean, you guys? I'm legitimately concerned. Does my face look close enough to a 40-something-year-old man's? Or does my 40-something-year-old father look a lot like a 20-year-old something girl? I mean, he gets Botox regularly, so it's probably the latter, am I right? Man, if it were the other way around, I'd be hitting those PG-13 movies hard. Every day, no ID needed. Just walking on in like a real live grown-up with real boobs, questioned by no one. Hit me with the Kate Winslet nudes. You know what blows the whole I'm youthful charade for my dad? Twitter. I mean, firstly, the fact that he even has a Twitter, but more obviously, the fact that the dude has no idea how to wield it. He's like a bird on a laptop. There's so much potential there, but all he decides to do is crap on the keyboard. This is a real-life tweet he sent out to thousands of followers last week. There's nothing like a high-quality sandwich. Am I right? Yum. He's really down the auteur community with that one. And uh-oh, that joke didn't connect. The crowd's getting silent. Yeah. Father couldn't be more Twitter basic even if he tried. Jamie's thoughts are racing. She's trying to find like something to connect with the audience with, but all that's in her mind is freaking Twitter. What would you do with 300,000 Twitter followers? Take a poll about what chair to buy? Because that's how my dad does it. Yeah, there are most definitely no laughs in the audience right now. I've never actually been on Twitter myself. I mean, I am a 40-something-year-old man at heart. My dad, though, spends so much time on Twitter. So I'm thinking of making an account. Slipping into them DMs and asking for a pony. She licks her lips. She stares out into the darkness. The blank, empty face is judging her, saying nothing. And, oh my gosh, he's not saying anything either. Come on, Jamie. Say something. Anything. Oh my gosh. I can't even remember my act right now. The sound of my breathing is overwhelming. People start to mutter in the crowd. I can't lose control of the crowd. I glance around some more. How long have I been silent? This is so bad. The mutterings turn into noise. What is wrong with me? I open my mouth. Come on, even when I bomb speaking. Just speak. Twitter. The crowd yells, "We don't care about Twitter. Get off the stage, you hack." And then the dream ends. She crashes back into her real body, sound asleep in her bed. Well, no longer sound asleep. Now she's like all sweaty and, nightmare. I'm a failure. And I know that routine that she just bombed is not, well, is it meant to be funny? Because people did laugh in the beginning. No one was certainly laughing at the end. But did anyone laugh throughout that whole thing? And throughout the rest of the book, where apparently she gets a new perspective on life, and she starts getting new ideas for her comedy. She does not improve. Here's some other snippets from her comedy. Hey, I'm Jamie, your friendly neighborhood Hollywood kid trying to lead a normal life. And by normal, I of course mean making it big. This is Hollywood. What is a normal life, really? Is it living within walking distance of a Soul Cycle? Is it Botox? There's a place called My Botox, less than a mile from my house. It's great branding, My Botox, casual. Like I already own it, like we're friends. I can't help thinking every time I pass My Botox, like, is that really what Botox users are looking for? A friendly, open relationship? Botox is like the uncomfortable, crude uncle you hide in the closet at important gatherings. No one introduces you to their Botox. It's their deep, dark, secret friend they pretend they don't know at parties. No one is coming up to you like, oh my god, do you love my face? Meet my Botox. She's really great right next to the coffee shop. We hang out all the time. Oh my gosh, and this she's like later, way later down the road. She's talking to her friend Don on the phone. She's like, girl, I got this great new like intro for our comedy bit. Give it a listen. Okay, so it was September 10th, 1999 at 10:15 a.m. when my mom triumphed in ejecting me from her vagina after 15 hours of labor. Oh my gosh, she's gonna be the next Amy Schumer. Someone warn Netflix. So yeah, after this traumatizing experience, no, not me saying what I just said on the internet, no, not that. You know, just sucking at comedy. Jamie, she realizes that she sucks and she can't get any more gigs, which means she makes no more money, which means she can't pay rent, which means she gets kicked out of her apartment, which means she moves back home to dad. But there are some stipulations with this. Dear old dad makes Jamie sign a contract. In return for letting her live at the house, she has to either go to regular therapy sessions or she needs to go to this Rediscover Yourself retreat, which coincidentally is the same retreat that Siri across America is considering going to. Well, she's not really considering, she does not want to go, but her mom is making her go. Because you can't do ballet, so you can't do anything. So you need a new passion. Please get out of my house. Love you, dear. Siri is dragging her heels about the whole retreat thing, but eventually she gives in. Jamie, however, doesn't care a smidge about her own mental health, wellness, but she sees the retreat as just something to farm interesting stories out of that she can use for her comedy routine. She's going to yank the juicy tea out of the yoga free your mind loonies, and she will exploit them for money. So all while Jamie is at this retreat, she goes up to random people who, because they're at this Rediscover Yourself retreat, you think that means, hey, they just been through some hard stuff. Get out of their personal space. But no, not Jamie. She doesn't have what we call tact. She just bounces right up to people and is like, hey, tell me all your personal life details, baby. While I subtly take notes on my little pad. She's like, oh my gosh, I see you have a wedding ring. How's that going? Oh dear, what? You had a harsh breakup? Girl, spill that tea. My favorite character in this book is the nameless chick that Jamie tried to poke and prod information out of. And our girl just completely ignores Jamie and walks on. That is the type of I don't care that I aspire to be. Am I being harsh on fictional people? No, I paid for them to entertain me. Well, Jamie and Siri, like colliding comets about to crash upon an innocent planet, they're both walking to a bathhouse. Jamie just to like be where a bunch of people is, because you know, more people, more stories. Siri understandably just wants a shower, and she's just walking around in a towel like a Until Dawn character. And these two girls finally meet each other in a really disastrous way. And Jamie instantly recognizes Siri and is like, oh my god, you're my sister. And Siri's like, oh my god, my childhood demons are back again. And she bolts. Siri runs. She throws a shower caddy at Jamie's face, and she's gone. That was my favorite part of the book. Later on, during a canoe lessons, we're gonna take a little break here so I can just rant about canoes for a second. The canoes in this book are apparently not canoes, but some sort of canoe hybrid that are simply called canoes because they have the word canoe spray painted on their sides. The dubious nature of these canoes. You would think this is the funniest joke in the book because these canoes are mentioned an ungodly amount. It's the longest running joke besides Siri's name. Yes, they made a Siri joke in this book. Low-hanging fruit. Anyways, Siri, she's out in the middle of the lake in her canoe, her non-canoe. And like freaking Jason lunging out of the lake, Jamie jumps into her canoe and demands to be talked to. Siri goes into what Jamie appropriately calls feral mode, and she capsizes the canoe, swims away back to shore, and leaves Jamie, who's unconscious, face down in the water. Y'all, we just witnessed an almost murder. Too bad she didn't go all the way. Siri is bent on believing that this Jamie girl is just some type of ghost, and because, one of their campers just almost died, their counselors make them go to a group therapy session where they do not get along. But later on, after a hike, and after an awful Again But Better reference, where I'm convinced the actions of Again But Better kind of deleted Miley Cyrus from existence, Siri suggests that, hey, let's go on a road trip together. Jamie, sisterly road trip to bond. Yeah, that's right. She went from almost murdering Jamie to now really wanting to bond to her really fast. And Jamie, she responds, nah, fam, let's not do that. Well, a trip sounds great, but what if we switch places? You go with my dad and I'll go with your mom, and then we can confront our parents, guilt them into paying for a trip, and tell them we don't think it's nice that they separated us for 14 years. I like this idea. I'm all for guilting people into giving me stuff. This could have been cool. It could have been. I see the potential. This could have been taking lessons from each other, learning how to act like one another, actually living in each other's shoes, bonding. But instead of that, and putting some real effort into their disguises, they find a box. It's a magic box. That's right, if you thought the magic from Again But Better came out of nowhere, welcome to this. We didn't even have like a female redheaded wizard to guide us to the magic. No, we just find the box. It was in a cabin at the end of their hike. They go into the cabin and they find the box, and on top of the box is a poem. And like they're trying to summon Slappy the Dummy from Goosebumps, they read the poem. Walk with ease in each other's shoes. Let me help pull off the ruse. We'll go 4 days and 5 long nights. You may tell just one, they'll see the light. Once you've discerned how your counterpart feels, to come back to yourself, just share something real. You must reunite upon 5th day, or in this state you're doomed to stay. Question, what was the rhythm of that poem? I felt like it was everywhere. This poem though, this magic, it ruins every bit of tension and any stakes that we could have had in the book. Well, first off, once they finish the poem and open the box, boom, glitter bomb goes off. This is magic glitter though. Don't worry, it's biodegradable. This magic glitter makes Siri look like Jamie and Jamie looks like Siri. The ultimate parrot trap. Did I say parrot? You know I did. They now have foolproof disguises. Now the only thing they have to do is just not screw up acting like one another, which can't be hard. You can't mess up nothing. That's right, because their personalities are nothing. But you know what really ruins this book? Because it gives us a promise that never comes true. That last line in the poem. You must reunite upon 5th day, or in this state you're doomed to stay. So part 2 of this book, before they confront their parents, is so boring. Siri starts dating Jamie's best friend Don, who is just so quirky and so cute because she only dresses in one color. Like, you don't know when this wild child's gonna walk out of the house and she's just wearing yellow or she's just wearing pink. Isn't that the bee's knees? Also, their relationship is cavity sweet. It eats away at me with its perfectness. Oh my gosh, you're so sweet. No, you are. No, you. Oh, stop. And Jamie is just sulking on the other side of America because she realizes that her sister is a better Jamie than the actual Jamie. That's not hard to do, sugar boo. But that last line in the poem, in this state, you are doomed to stay. Who cares if they don't switch? Who cares if they fail to return back to their normal lives? Siri is completely fine living in Jamie's life. She loves doing the comedy. She loves doing their little improv group with Don. She loves dating Don. And Jamie is also in a relationship in New York at Siri's house. She's with a guy named Zarar, who is just too pure for this book, and all he wants to do is fall in love in such a cute, romantic way that he has a story to tell his grandkids. Again, he's too perfect. I read a long time ago, like in the most stereotypical way. You can tell when a guy writes a woman because she's over-sexualized, but you can tell when a woman writes a guy because he's too perfect. I might be starting to believe that. Zerrar has no flaws, besides, for some reason he wants to date Jamie, who is living crap. He does not deserve the torment that is occupying the same oxygen as Jamie blemishes. Both Jamie and Siri also don't have anything to lose from their original lives. Siri doesn't have ballet anymore. Jamie doesn't have any reputation to go back to because she's not a good comedian. What I thought was going to happen at the very beginning of this book, because I knew it was going to be a Parent Trap book, I thought as time went on, between this whole identity swap and with that last line of the poem dooming them to stay in their state, I thought as time went on, the girls will become more and more like the other person, really beginning to lose themselves and thus establishing some sort of stakes, tension, something to win, something to lose. And think about it, if Jamie is slowly becoming Siri, what does that mean? The back pain, the awful constant state of self-doubt and depression that Siri is always in. Imagine someone as chipper and energetic as Jamie, slowly felled by the pain, the clouding thoughts, all of her going dim, while across the country, Siri's pain is going away, and she's brightening up. And now she has Dawn in her life. She would have every reason then not to switch back to her old life, while Jamie would be even more frantic to return to her old life. Isn't that more exciting? But no, in this book, the girls just live their lives, date around, kissy kissy, ooey gooey. Then they meet up in Vegas as planned. It was super easy, barely an inconvenience. I stole that joke. They meet up in Vegas with the parents they managed to finagle somehow into going to Vegas. And just by telling one another a truth about themselves, they just switch back to normal. Easy peasy, lazy writing is sleazy. Then the big confrontation scene happens between the sisters, the mom who erased Jamie, and the dad that Siri grew up hating. And it is the weirdest thing. There's not one satisfying moment in it. Well, first off, Mom comes in, screams when she sees her ex-husband just sitting there in her room. He thought it was his room. Siri tries to calm her down, while Jamie kicks down the bathroom door like Cusco in The Emperor's New Groove and announces herself to her hated mother. Mom again screams, and the dad is just standing there, stuttering like, Honestly, can we talk about the dad real quick? Why does Jamie hate him so much? You remember her comedy bit? And how she is constantly dissing him? And yeah, in the beginning, he makes her sign a contract too. Like, in order for her to live with him. And that makes you think, oh my gosh, this guy must be so stern and just awful. No, it is the strangest contrast. Because I am convinced that this dad character has been kidnapped and drugged. Because not only is he nice and really supportive of Jamie, he seems so out of it. Like, la-di-da-da, oh, they have a thumb. So, more yelling happens. Jamie and the mom, they're yelling at each other. The mom has the gall to be like, I knew there was something going on with you all week, fake Siri. Do you know how much emotional manipulation you put me through living with you? Girl, you started it. You rearranged all my Game of Thrones books. Honestly, if that would have been me, I would have been a little bit mad too. I worked hard for this rainbow shelf. I'm pretty sure I'm colorblind. The mom has my permission to give Jamie one good smack, with just the fingertips. So yeah, that's all happening. And the dad, for some reason, thinks it's a good idea to just slide up to Jamie and be like, well, hi there, daughter. I know you're angry and yelling at your mother, but did you know that Siri and Don are dating each other now? Bruh, read the room. Now, Jamie has a very toxic view of relationships at this point, and I kind of understand, because her parents be bonkers. She does believe that every relationship is doomed to failure, which is why this whole book she's been really reluctant about getting closer to her boy Zerrar. And so now that she hears that her sister and her best friend are in a relationship, she's not gonna share. So she finally proves, once and for all, that Jamie is a mental toddler. And feeling betrayed, she runs up to Siri, gathers up all her strength, and shoves her. And Siri being Siri and her spine being a toothpick, she topples, she gets her back slammed against the chair, and screams her head off in agony before she drops to the floor. And Jamie's like, well, I'm gonna go stay at Grandpa's house. Did I mention that during this yelling match taking place in this hotel room, God bless the neighbors that have to listen to this, the grandparents, the papa who has been a part of Siri's life, and Grams who has been a part of Jamie's life, together They burst into the hotel room. I didn't even know, both of them were here at Vegas at the same time. These two old geezers walk in, and they're like, we have arranged this entire thing. We implanted the idea of sending you two sisters to the Rediscover Yourself retreat in your parents' feeble little mind. Because we have never agreed with how they have decided to raise you two. It took you 14 years. That is a gamble, man. You could have been dead before you finally decided to intervene. So then, after this rush of poignant emotion, Jamie and Siri realize that not only is their own relationship toxic, but Siri presses criminal charges on Jamie, who is now performing stand-up in the restroom of a women's prison. The mom was blocked on all social media platforms, and police were able to negotiate the release of the dad. He's currently at a health spa, detoxing from all the sedatives pumped into his blood system. Of course, I'm kidding, it's not that epic. This highly dysfunctional family somehow brushes aside all of their differences like pesky little dust mites. The mom apologizes for pretending that Jamie never existed, and they start rebuilding their relationship. Jamie learns her emotional unavailability ruins all of her chances at any meaningful relationships, and becomes the dang best comedian this side of the Mississippi. And guess what? She's so good, she gets her own show on Netflix. Dear God, this book is the worst. Honestly, I think it teaches all the wrong morals. Yeah, family's family, but sometimes you gotta cut out the toxic people of your life regardless of how they're related to you. Especially if they clearly stated they don't want you, like the mom did. Rather than preaching the goodly morals of sisterly bonds, this was just a bunch of immature girls screeching at each other, needless fluff, lacking character depth, because it's all tell and no show. The worst jokes imaginable, including that time Jamie threatened to cross out the word canoe on the not canoes and replace it with the word bucket, because for some reason that's hilarious. It's just noise, but it's not even relaxing white noise. It's just like garbled printer faxing shrieks. If the couples in this book were people I enjoyed being with, if I loved them, if it was actually funny, and if there was an actual lesson to be learned, it may have been worth something. But all I'm left with is the realization that reading this book with a lot of alcohol nearby would have been the only thing to make this book better together.